It's 1 a.m. The room is dark. Your phone is face down. And instead of sleeping, you're winning an argument that happened 3 years ago. You're giving a speech in front of thousands of people. You're finally saying the thing you never actually said. And the strange part? It feels real. Here's what nobody tells you about why your brain does this, and what it actually says about who you are. Most people would call this a bad habit, a distraction, maybe even a sign that something is wrong with you. But what if the opposite is true? What if the people who do this the most are actually the ones who understand something about human psychology that the rest of the world hasn't figured out yet? Stay with me, because this is going to completely change how you see yourself. If this is already making you think, you're exactly the kind of person who belongs at Mind Unlocked. Hit subscribe right now so you never miss one of these. Here's what the science actually says. Psychologists call this mental simulation, and it's not random. It's not weird. A study published in the journal Psychological Science found that people who regularly engage in vivid mental simulation show higher levels of emotional intelligence and stronger problem-solving ability than those who don't. Dr. Gabriele Oettingen, a psychology professor at NU, has spent decades studying this. She found that the human brain cannot fully distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. Your nervous system responds to both almost the same way. That's not a glitch. That's a feature. Now here's where it gets interesting. What it looks like is daydreaming. What it actually is rehearsal. Your brain is not wasting time. It is running simulations. Every fake conversation you have before sleep is your mind stress testing reality. It's figuring out what you would do, what you should have done, what you wish you had said. Surface behavior says you're avoiding sleep. Deeper truth says you're processing unfinished emotional business. Common assumption says this is escapism. Surprising reality, it is one of the most sophisticated coping tools the human brain possesses. Here's another layer. What it looks like is fantasy. What it actually is identity construction. When you imagine yourself succeeding, being respected, being heard, you are not lying to yourself. You are showing yourself who you want to become. The brain doesn't know the difference between practice and performance. Every time you run that scene in your head, you are literally rewiring your neural pathways. You are training yourself. The people who do this consistently, they tend to show up differently in real life because they've already lived the version of themselves they want to be, thousands of times in the dark. Think about the last time you created one of those scenarios. Maybe it was a version of a conversation where you finally set a boundary with someone. Maybe it was a moment where someone finally understood you, really understood you, and said exactly the right thing back. There's something quietly aching about that. Because what you were really doing in that moment wasn't just imagining a conversation. You were telling yourself what you needed. You were naming a hunger that real life hadn't yet fed. At Mind Unlocked, we talk about these invisible parts of being human. The things everyone feels but nobody says out loud. This is one of those things. The psychological concept at work here is called self-regulation through mental simulation. In simple words, it means your brain uses imagination as a tool to manage emotions it hasn't processed yet. People who understand this use it intentionally. They direct those nighttime scenarios toward their goals, their healing, their confidence. People who don't understand it feel ashamed of it. They fight it. And they lose access to one of the most powerful psychological tools they were born with. That difference is enormous. Now I want to hear from you. What kind of scenarios do you imagine before you sleep? Do you replay the past, or do you rehearse the future? Drop your answer in the comments. I read them. And if this video made you think of someone who always seems lost in their head, share this with them. It might be exactly the thing that finally makes them understand themselves. So here's the question I want to leave you with. If your mind keeps returning to the same imagined scene, the same conversation, the same version of yourself. What is it trying to tell you that you haven't been willing to hear yet? Because maybe the scenario isn't fake at all. Maybe it's the most honest thing about you.